you are teaching your kids about boundaries, because I feel like that's going to fester out in their lives, and it's going to help them with dealing with people and being comfortable with setting their own boundaries, so they're not being taken advantage of. But when somebody else tells them no, they can be okay with that. They can cope with it. You know, there's this thing going around now about men not being able to take a no from women and cursing them out, or on worst case scenarios putting hands on them and stuff like that. What do you feel is missing, like maybe from a person's childhood, on why they probably reacted like that?
Well, it could be a number of things. It could have been that they that abuse was modeled in their household, absence was modeled in their household, and so a no feels rejectionary. And so when I've been rejected, now I have to lash out because it makes me feel small, and it speaks to the little boy in all of them. And that's, you know, no shade, but like, we each operate with a smaller version of ourselves in ourselves, and so that little boy feels like they were rejected, they weren't chosen, and so that little boy will lash out. What do kids do when they don't get their way? They have temper tantrums. They do. They lash out. And so at that point, the little boy is overpowering the man. And then, like, I'm going to lash out. I'm going to call you out your name. I'm going to hit you. I'm going to have a temper tantrum, basically an adult tantrum, because, I never dealt with why the little boy felt rejected.
Hey everybody, it's your girl DJ with Plan for Keys podcast, and today I have Tiaera Pritchett. She is a 2-time alumni of the University of Tennessee and co-owner of the twofold company, All Things Fit, which focuses on the unification of the mental and physical aspects of health. To reach an even broader population, Tiaera and her business partner created a nonprofit for lower-income families with weight and health issues. The purpose was to distribute services to this population at no charge to them. Ms. Pritchett has over 14 years of experience in the field. She's often stated the following: I found that too often people were going through life traumas without addressing or healing from it, but instead merely coexisting with it. Due to this common issue in the Black community, she created a TV show, Truth Moment, and a radio show that was broadcast all over the world with hopes clients would see themselves in the stories of others and be inspired to get their own help. As her experience grew, she and her best friend created the Uncensored Wellness Podcast to bring a humorous realness to mental and physical health. She has been a keynote speaker at women's conferences, expos, church events all over the U.S. and has appeared in several publications. This past December, Tiaera created her own curriculum and journal for her masterclass entitled Greater, where Ms. Pritchett instructed a group of classmates weekly on how to identify, define, and work towards their overflow. With as many accolades achieved, Tiaera's greatest joy is raising her 4 little humans, James, Joey, Taylor, and Tori. Today, Tiaera is here to speak on if God gives us free will with every aspect of our lives, why do we get so comfortable in figuring He chooses a spouse for us? I'm excited to get into this topic. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you to your listeners and your viewers for welcoming me to the family, to the DJ family.
Yes, the Plan for Keys
fam. I appreciate it.
No, thank you. No, thank you for making the time to come on. I feel like you'll be able to give a lot of insight just in regards to healing, trauma, and how it relates to dating, relationships, marriage, and all of that. So, no, I appreciate you coming on and making the time. Before we dive into this topic, because I've never heard anybody just outwardly say that, what got you into your field?
Well, actually, my dad was a therapist, and so growing up as a kid, he would, talk to me about stories, never telling anyone specific what anyone was going through, but just different types of scenarios. And as minuscule as it sounds, I noticed my friends would always come to me whenever they were dealing with issues. And I was like, I think I could possibly do this. And I remember one time my dad was taking a continuing education credit when I was in high school, and he was just like, I don't have time for this. Do this class, and you get an A on it, I'm going to pay you for it.
Ooh.
So I'm like, all right, I'm going to get an A on it. I always did really well in school, and so I passed his continuing education credits, and he paid me for them. But I got to learn about the field then, and so when I was 16, I said I was going to be a therapist. And I remember my guidance counselor was kind of like, that's cute. No one continues with what they want to do at that age.
Really?
But yeah, she was like, girl, okay.
Why the ones who always be doubting the ones to do something? They act. That's what's up, though. I'm sure that brought fuel to your fire, though.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, I got something for you. But so I did it and, stayed the course. I got my bachelor's from the University of Tennessee, Go Vols. And then got my master's because I realized that in this field, you can't do anything with just a bachelor's. You want to make sure that you have more knowledge and expertise if you're going to be helping people heal their lives, essentially. Right. So that's how I got into doing therapy and mental health, and just love it. I am so humbled by the fact that people choose me to delve into their life with and kind of hold their hand and guide them to whatever it is their purpose takes them to be.
Got you. I have a question. Since you have your master's degree in mental health as a therapist, do you incorporate like holistic approaches? Because I know I've run into people who are real textbook-like, and then I've run into people who they use like the mind, body, spirit in a holistic way to help people get through traumas. Where would you say you lie?
So I'm not textbook at all.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's irritating when people are so like stringent upon what does the book say. But I incorporate all of those things like I was talking about in my bio with All Things Fit. My best friend and business partner, she is a NASM certified personal trainer. And so we see the importance of the two, and I incorporate that. So what I do is I utilize and heighten whatever a person says they're already coping skills that they come with. So if they say that I go to church or I meditate or I do yoga, then we're going to incorporate that as far as your coping skills are concerned, because I can't just introduce something new to you and expect you to not want to go back to what you're already doing. We just got to make sure that what you're doing is geared towards helping you get what you want to achieve.
Got you. What if you run into somebody who coping skills is just not it?
Okay, so for example, if their coping skills are they overeat when they stress, or they drink when they stress. So those have been negative coping skills. And so I get them to differentiate and distinguish what a positive coping skill can be and what a negative one. And so it's subjective. Like a negative coping skill to me may not be a negative coping skill to you. For example, if I say I'm going to go and spend 2 hours in the gym, if you say that that's not where I'm at right now, like that's not going to work for me, if anything, that's going to set me back, because if I can't reach that 2, that's going to make me feel like I failed. See what I'm saying? So then that could be deemed negative to you. So I sit down with the person and very, like I said, subjective. What are your coping skills right now? Now let's evaluate how this is helping you or hurting you.
Got you.
To what you're trying to achieve.
Got you. Okay. So going back to your bio, it sounded like you and your business partner started a nonprofit. Was this straight out of school? Did you do a few years in the field? Like, how did your journey lead to that nonprofit?
Okay, absolutely. So I've been in mental health forever. My best friend, she had her own fitness journey. She had lost 100 pounds. And so in doing so, she wanted to get certified, because a lot of times on social media, people will lose weight and they'll say, well, I'm a trainer. Yeah. I can tell you how I did it, and follow along. But she actually became certified so that she was helping people lose weight the right way for them. And I think that's important to mention, because sometimes people can go in the gym and work out and not lose any weight. And so she's able to evaluate what is it like from a nutritional standpoint as well. So we actually merged during the pandemic, because statistically, as a country, just our mental health was completely depleted. We saw a rise in depression, anxiety, also in domestic violence, relationship issues, and substance and alcohol use. And so with us just seeing that and seeing how during the pandemic everyone went through trauma, but we just kind of like, well, this is where we're at right now.
Yeah.
You had food scarcity. You had in abusive relationships where people would typically leave and go to work during the day, everyone's home together. You had people with children who were hyperactive, and typically they send them to school. Now you're seeing what the teachers are talking about, right? So like we saw this need, and so the nonprofit was created because a lot of people lost jobs, or a lot of people were having to figure out new normals from a financial standpoint, and we wanted them to be able to afford these type of services, because it's not fair to sit there and they're getting worse and they just can't afford it. So that's why Fit Families was created, because we want to attack the concept of bringing fitness to the entire family. So working out with the kids and with the parents, so that the kids keep the parents accountable and vice versa.
Got you. That is awesome. Okay. Now I want to go ahead and lean into how you got your radio show and podcast started. Like, what was the motivation behind that?
Yeah. So, Truth Moment, it's this thing that my best friend and I say when we're about to no holds bars. I'm gonna tell you the truth, whether you like it or not. I'm keeping it real. Yeah. So we like truth before we get ready to say a truth moment. We're like, truth moment, and then we're like, okay, what is it? So Truth Moment. Initially, I was just standing in front of a camera. She did production and all of these things, and she was just like, give people tips and coping skills on how to deal with mental health issues, because everyone doesn't go to therapy. Yeah. So I would stand at these, unique places with all different types of backdrops, like next to the river walk, things like that, and would just record like, hey, these are some things you can do to cope with anger, or you can things you can look at to make sure that you're identifying the correct issue within yourself. And so then I was just like doing therapy, and I would have so many people come in, especially from the Black community, and they would say, well, I've been dealing with this for 20 years, and I just thought that this is what I had to deal with. Yeah. I didn't want to go to therapy because I didn't want anyone in my business. I didn't want people to think I was crazy. Mm-hmm. And I was taught that whatever happened in this house stayed in this house.
That's
so I didn't. Yeah. So they were like, I didn't want to get help for it. And I was like, man, it had become a reoccurring thing. And so I was saying, I want to bring people on. And she was like, I thought you just, wanted to keep it. I'm like, no, I want to bring people on so that someone out there watching or listening, they can see themselves in someone else and see how someone else got help and see what they, did in order to start feeling better. And it inspired them to want to get help. And I'm not saying that they had to come to me for therapy, but just to look for someone for therapy. And so it did really well, exceptionally well. We traveled with Truth Moment. I had all types of stories up there. A 9/11 survivor who was a fireman who had suffered all types of residual effects from him going to fight fires. Breast cancer, molestation, infertility, depression, anxiety, suicide, just so many things. And then I would have people that would send me messages like, that episode about this spoke to me. I'm going to go get help. Or I realize that this is not normal, that I keep choosing the same type of person because of my traumas. Right. And so I was just like, well, that was the purpose of it. That was the point of doing it. And when I got pregnant with my fourth child, I had just stopped, but I've been having people recently like, are you planning on bringing Truth Moment back? You gonna bring Truth Moment back?
You just gave me an idea for my podcast, just saying I ain't still instilling the concept, but I got a segment I think I want to, that is dope. Are you gonna bring it back?
I think I am. I think I'm going to go ahead and bring it back amongst everything else that I got going on right now.
So I took a deep breath just listening to the things that you said guests came on to talk about, and just thinking of you being in the mental health space and you being a therapist. I took a deep breath because all of that shit, excuse my language,
all that I was wondering if we could get down like that.
We can curse. I am X-rated, okay? All of that shit seems so heavy. Yeah. Like I think I took 2 or 3 deep breaths as you were talking. What do you do? Because I was talking to another guest, I think it was yesterday. I think among psychologists or among the professions, I think that's the in psychologists, it's the highest suicidal rate.
Yeah,
I think that's what I heard of. What do you do for yourself?
I'm actually glad that you brought that up. So 5 years ago, in September, I was going to commit suicide. Wow. Yeah, like so.
You have such an aura. Oh my god!
Thank you. I was going to commit suicide, and my best friend, who's my business partner, I had sent her a text and was saying goodbye. I sent my husband one saying goodbye as well, and he was just like, it's fine, babe. We'll talk when I get home. I wasn't going to be there when he got home. I had already made up in my mind. And so when I sent it to my best friend, she was like, no, she kept calling and calling, and I would decline her call. And so I put my phone down. I had Percocets and Oxys from having my third child. At that time, she was 1.5. And so I had made up my mind. I put them on my dresser by my bathroom, and I went and got a glass of water. And I was like, I'm going to go and take a shower first and get into bed and take them. So then when they find me, it would look like I was sleeping. Because it was so heavy. I had got burnt out. I was taking on so much. And yeah. Oh my God. And so it was a lot, at that time. And so when I went and I took my shower, this peace had come over me, and I don't know if your viewers or listeners are spiritual or whatever, but I went from being in turmoil, I was angry, and then like this peace came, and the voice that came was like, it's okay, your children are fine without you, they'll be fine without you. And I heard it, and it was so calming, and it felt so reassuring, like, okay, this is what I need to do. So when I got out, she was standing right there, and I was like, baby. What the no, my best friend. I'm like, bitch, what you doing here? I was mad. I fuck with her. That's how I would have been. I was mad because she had a key. She had a key to my house, right?
You ain't going nowhere.
She was sitting right there. She was sitting right there. I was so mad. Like, what are you doing? And it really was on some. See, being a therapist, mm-hmm. You have people who they say they want to commit suicide, but it's not. It's a cry for help. Like I was saying bye. Because I felt like I had owed that to her.
I know you said you spiritual, and you can let me know if I'm thinking, like, do you feel like that was your higher self speaking to you?
No. I actually feel like that was the devil that was at that time.
Because I know when somebody say the spiritual, it could be Christianity.
Yeah, okay. For sure. Yeah, no, I felt like that was the enemy at that time, because when I was in the turmoil, when I had walked in the bathroom, I was angry with God, and I was yelling with God. And the reason why was because I was like, I am healing all of these people, and I still feel so alone. I still feel so hurt. And so it was like, in that instance, I had lost humility because I felt like I was doing it. I was healing these people. I was fixing these lives. I was fixing these marriages. And so that anger in that conversation, it exuded, like, and then that's when the other voice was coming, like, it's okay. Just do this. Wow. It'll be fine. You'll be able to get free from all of this. Your kids will be all right. Their dad will raise them. They'll be better than having a mom in such turmoil. And so I was like, okay. Wow. I love them. This was a sacrifice I'm making for them. Like, that's how I felt at that time. But, like realizing that, like you asked, and I appreciate you asking that, being able to leave it at the door. Like, so now I'm so intentional about leaving it at the door. And because I'm big on like energy and stuff too, like I don't let everybody hug me. Like my clients that'll come in or whatever, and they done told all kinds of stories and no. We gotta.
How do you create that boundary? Because you seem like somebody who probably
people like to hug.
I was gonna give you a hug after this show.
See, I feel you're cool. You're cool. Like it's not everybody. I don't want
to. Now, with you being, I know you can probably answer this question, but for you, because you seem like you probably were a hugger and empathetic, all that stuff. Yeah. How did you create that boundary as a therapist to be like, hey, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, always being mindful of the roles in the relationship with the clients. And so just having them realize that, I am the therapist, because a lot of times, because I'm so personable, they'll want to be like, I'm a homegirl, or like kids like auntie. They're like auntie. I'm like, So I ain't gonna lie. Some of them I let call me auntie because we have that type of rapport.
Yeah.
But I'm big on rapport and just like listening to, myself when it comes to them. So like, a boundary is set. I let them know up front, like this is a therapist-client relationship. Like, I'm not your homegirl as far as the kids are concerned, especially teenagers. Like, if you say something that is going to hurt, you're hurting yourself or you're thinking about it or something that is not safe, I'm going to tell your parent. So I'm letting you know that right now. I let them know up front what the expectations are and the boundaries right then and there. So you can't say that like, hey, because I've had men in sessions where, because you think about it, a lot of times men don't open up like that. It's in relationships, right? And so here's a working relationship nonetheless, but a relationship nonetheless. Right.
Right.
And so when they develop that rapport to me and they're talking, they're peeling back layers and stuff.
Yeah.
I've had a great deal of men that
romantically want to be involved with you.
And they're like, I don't care if you got a husband or not, like, oh my gosh, you're the one, type of thing. So just letting it be known up front, like this is what you can expect, this is what you can't expect, this is the line or whatever. But so that's I have to let people know, up front, because they it's very personable and intimate, the conversations, but still, like I said, leaving it at the door now. I still love what I do. I had to get a renewed love for it. So I stepped away for a while after that incident. At that point, I stopped doing therapy. I was just doing assessments, and that's where people come in and I gather their information for the therapist.
So you were an intake person.
Yeah.
Kind of familiar with mental health because I'm a recruiter for a living, and I recruited for a therapist and intake specialist and things like that.
Okay.
I want to piggyback and ask you a question, and then we'll probably dive into this topic. So you mentioned something to the effect of you were angry with God because you started feeling like you were the one healing these people.
Yeah.
During the time when you were intake specialist or when you got back into being a therapist, how did you incorporate God into it for you so you didn't go back to the place of where you felt like, oh, this is me doing it?
Yeah. So I think that, of course, with prayer and my relationship with God, because it's so easy, and the Bible speaks about us not taking the glory, and I felt like I very much so was, and it was so easy because clients would hype me up. Oh my, you did this for me, oh my gosh, and they'd see me out. And when we see clients out, just if any clients listen to this, we're not to like, hey, yo, such and such, so that way other people can find out, like, hey, they go to you for therapy. So I'm not being rude when I act like I don't see y'all sometimes. It's just so there won't be that awkwardness, because a lot of times if I'm out with my kids, and I don't want kids like, Mom, how you know them? But I have clients that will come up, oh my gosh, your mama's my therapist and she does such a good job, I'm thankful for your mama. So just like me being intentional with like, whenever anyone is like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for doing this, like when they're going their way, I thank God for the gift, because I feel like I feel like I'm blessed and fortunate enough that my passion and my purpose align, because some people, they had to fall in love with their purpose, but mine, they go hand in hand. And so, like I said, being intentional about giving the glory to Him. I'm like, before I step into a session, I pray for the client when their name comes across, and then I say, God, whatever it is that you want them to hear, allow me to be decreased so that they can hear you and they can heal from you and through you, because I've realized that I'm merely a vessel in all of this now.
Got you. Okay. Thank you for digging into all of that.
No problem.
Like I said, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
God bless y'all for real. Like, I couldn't imagine. Every time a therapist or a mental health person comes in here with just the heavy load of what they hear, like, I feel it on my shoulders. Like, anyway. So I want to bring back up the topic, and I really want to hear your thoughts and kind of go back and forth with your thoughts on, if God gives us free will with every other aspect of our lives, why do we get so comfortable in figuring He chooses a spouse for us? Because people do tend to think that, oh, I'm waiting on God, or I'm waiting on this or that. Tell me your thoughts as you wrote that on the form.
Well, I'd noticed that a lot of people who like single friends or just seeing it on social media, being in the church, things like that, and people would say, God is going to choose my husband, or God chose my husband. And, for a while, I just accepted that and was like, okay, and had even accepted that for my marriage too. Like, okay, God wanted me to be with him, and this is why we're together, because that's what God wanted. And I don't agree with that. I feel that he gives us free will. The Bible says he gives us the ability to choose any and everything. And just like with my children, now they're younger, so then I'm like, hey, you need to choose this. Don't, trust me, don't choose that, choose this right here. But, the older that they get, their choices will be their own. And so I feel like even with my husband, that was my choice. So God is like, because you chose that, now you got to work that thing out. Okay. So you got to figure out this person, and you got to, because the Bible says, and then the two shall become one. It didn't say when you married, you're one. It's and a becoming.
And a lot of people think that as soon as you get married,
Yeah. No, it's a process, because he's coming with his stuff. I'm coming with my stuff. His unresolved traumas, my unresolved traumas. And we got to try to figure out how to blend and mesh them together as best as possible to make this thing work. And, in marriages, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I don't feel that God chooses our spouse. He allows us to choose. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I feel like he smacks his forehead at our choices, but it's like, that's what you're going to choose, baby girl. I'm going to let you roll with it. So now that you have, figure it out. I'm going to give you grace in certain seasons, because I feel like, grace can run out just like in any and everything. And that's how sometimes people will get a divorce, and it's like, well, no one cheated, no one was abusive, the grace ran out for it. And
could you go deeper into that? Nobody cheated, nobody did anything crazy, but the grace ran out for it. Would you say that's two people coming together and they just weren't compatible in the first place?
Yeah. And I feel like the situation where, things initially, they looked good. The person was attractive to you, but those are all things that fade, like, especially if you're talking about longevity. If you're going to be together forever, what are you going to do when you don't love them? Like, because that happens. And what are you going to do when you don't like them? Or you don't even want to sleep beside them, like, because that's something that happens. Yeah. And I think it's unrealistic, and it creates a fairy tale kind of fantasy thought process when we're like, oh, well, God chose my husband. Yeah. But he says in his word that you have free will. So he didn't choose them. I think that you can ask, just like a parent, you can ask like, hey, God, do you think this one, do I have your approval? Because, see, approval isn't a choice. Yeah. You still have your choice, but I can say, no, I'm not feeling this. Yeah. But you're still choosing it. And I think that when we accept that, then when things don't go right, then we have the tendency to like not be mad at God. God, this was supposed to be the one you chose for me. Like, nah, I didn't choose that for you. You chose it. So how are you going to keep working this? What are you going to do? Are you going to step away? What is your choice after the choice that you've already made? So I don't agree with that. And there may be some church folks that want to come in after. That's okay. I'll leave my handles.
I agree with you, because I know what would you say to a church person that is deeply rooted in the philosophy that God chooses our partner? And another question came to my mind. See, hold it. Okay. Keep that question. And then another one where it talks about God's will for our lives. Or when people pray, they'll say, oh, if it's in God's will. Yeah. For me personally, I'm a big believer in God's will is our will. And that's just what I believe. What is your stance on that? Because it just makes me question, what is your stance on as far as the people who say if it's in God's will?
Right. So I feel like God's will for our lives is what he would like for us to do.
Okay.
But he doesn't force himself on us. He doesn't force us to make any decision, because even at the end of the day, when it comes to salvation, whether or not you're going to choose him, there's so many different religions and ideologies out nowadays, because people who do crystals and or tarot readings and things like that, they may not consider themselves to be religious or spiritual, but then they have this entity that they work through. And so I feel that he gives us, like I said, he gives us the choice. And as far as his will is concerned, he can say, like, this is what I would like for you to do. But at the end of the day, you're human and you're going to choose what you want. And when you do, I'm going to be here regardless. And to me, that's what a relationship is about. Like with my children, my oldest is going to be 14 in December, and my youngest is 2. And even with their ages, I am communicative with them. I have conversations with them, and I ask them, like, even with the 2-year-old, when he wakes up in the morning, I don't say, this is what you're wearing to school. I take out 2 outfits and 2 pairs of shoes, and I say, what would you like to wear?
I gotta start doing that with my son. I do ask him questions, but I gotta start doing that. I like that.
Yeah, because even as their parent, and even though he's young, right? Think about a babe in Christ. You know, like, I don't want to overwhelm him with too many choices, but I'm still giving him a choice at the end of the day, because that's how he becomes free thinking. Yeah, and that's how I can test and know that he can make good decisions without me. Because if I choose everything for him, when he leaves my house, he'll be asked out and not know how to make any decisions for himself.
God, do you choose like a bad outfit, like a mismatch outfit?
Nah, I ain't doing that, sis. I ain't gonna do it, because he'll try to play me one day. I know that. Oh, my 2-year-old, he runs the house. He'll try to play me and be like, that one. And I'm we're not doing it. I got to. Because then at that point, I'm taking away his free will. Yeah. If I'm saying, this is the one that I want you to wear, he has no free will at that point.
Got you. I think my belief in regards to God's will is our will is because I think the Bible verse pops up in my head. I don't know the Bible verse for verse, but God will give you the desires of thine heart. How do you think that coincides with God's will for our lives versus but he will give us the desires of our heart? Do you think that's probably why people get confused with I stay drawing blanks. Why people get confused with God will bring me a spouse, because it's the desires of their heart?
Yeah, see, I feel like because it is the desire of your heart, right? He's going to allow for it to happen. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what he wanted. He's just giving you what you want. And so because you want it, you got to work it out. You got to figure it out. And so, but the Bible also says his ways are not our ways. Gotcha. Because he is all knowing. He's omnipotent. So like he has his desires for you, like, you know, what he would have written, but then he's giving you the choice. He can only, you know, like, I hope that she chooses this one, but if she doesn't, then she has to work it out. The Bible also tells us not to be unequally yoked, though. So like you're given instruction, but you still are being, you know, given the opportunity to choose what you want. Because there are going to be times where, you know, let's say a person is not of equal yoke, and so the other person is bucking and they're wanting to, you know, do their own thing, and you're wanting it to be together. But it's like God is like, because you're my child and I love you, I'm going to give you some grace. But this is not what I would have had for you. But you chose that, and so because you chose it, you're gonna have to work that out. You're gonna have to figure it out.
The simple truth. Okay. What else did I want to ask behind that? Like, I normally have questions back to back, but you explained it so eloquent. Oh yeah, I want to piggyback to my other question. For a church person who's like deeply in the church and who believes God, like God's will is everything, and God brings you your husband, your spouse, or whatever.
Ooh, I got something for that.
Yeah, you said a lot. What would you say to somebody like that who's deeply rooted in that thought process?
Absolutely. So, for someone that says, God is going to deliver my husband on a platter, right? Just like you have free will, so does your husband. So you could say, this is the man that God told me that I'm to be with. But that man has free will. So he can still choose someone that's not you. So like, even though God is, so you think that God is going to eradicate that man's free will just to line up because this is what you want? Like, that don't make it make sense. Make it make sense.
I got you. That makes perfect sense too. Okay, so in regards to somebody, now we done cleared it up on why, you know what I'm saying, it's your will in regards to your spouse and who you choose. How does one pick the right person? I know you gave some, you gave out some tips, kind of, you gave instruction on the Bible about being evenly yoked. What other things can you think of as a therapist? Like,
that's a incredible question, because the first thing that I tell people is I do premarital, marital, and then I've done counseling and divorce. But the first thing that I would say is explore your traumas. Like, explore your traumas. That way, when you dig deep into yourself, they don't become surface and exposed by someone else. Like, because then I already know what makes me triggered. I already know what makes me tick. I already know what pushes me. I already know what gets the best response for me, however someone else can respond, as opposed to waiting till I get in a relationship and being like, that pissed me off when you did that. Yeah. I wasn't aware that was something that bothers me. So I would say to a lot of singles, when you're waiting for that person, take that time and spend time with yourself, and not just do it like how a lot of people say, like, oh, self-care, I'm meditating and I'm going to get my boba tea, and like, no, sis, have the uncomfortable conversations with yourself. What has happened to me in my life that causes me to choose the type of man that I've been choosing, or the type of women that I've been choosing for so long? What has potentially happened to me that caused me to have trust issues? What and look at patterns, because your patterns will tell you a lot about yourself too. Yeah. The type of people you date, the type of friends you hang out with, the type of jobs you select and go after. Like, what are your patterns telling you about you? Because the more that you do this homework, you're not going to be out looking for someone to love you, because you're going to love yourself. Okay. So anyone else that comes along, that's just going to be added.
Got you. There's so many people who don't know how to sit still to do the work that you just said. Or they might they may ask that question, and then they realize how painful it is, and they can't even sit with themselves to do that. What's a tip?
In having those conversations with yourself, asking yourself why. Why are you sitting down having this conversation? If you're having this conversation because you eventually want to be someone's wife, then it's worth it to you, because you can, dress up all of these things. You can wear the nicest clothes, makeup, all of these things, drive the nicest car, have the nicest job, house, whatever. But if your goal is to be someone's wife for the long haul, then you got to sit with yourself, because if you don't, the relationship is going to expose these things about you.
Got you. I can only imagine. So you say you do the pre-marital counseling and stuff like that. Have you ran into people who have not done the work on themselves? How do you gently show them that they need to dig up some stuff?
I ask questions, because I'm going to ask some questions and find out, and then it's going to make people in the room uncomfortable if you haven't. It's going to show me that you haven't done the work. What are some things y'all typically get into arguments about? And then the answers are typically different, because it's from different perspectives and point of views. So then the other person's like, damn, I didn't know that bothered you. I didn't know you felt like that. And yeah, babe, when you do this, it makes me feel like, this. Or I don't like the way that you try to overtalk me. It makes me feel like you think that I'm less than. So another person's like, that's not my intention. So then now let's dig to who was talking to you like that before, that made you feel like your voice didn't matter, that you were smaller, that you weren't enough. Let's dig into that, because a lot of times we could project onto our partner unintentionally, and they could not even mean it that way, but it's coming across that way because your trauma is speaking louder than your actual voice.
Got you. Have you ever had to tell people maybe they should postpone?
I don't do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. One thing in therapy and life coaching, because I life coach as well, I don't tell people what to do. I ask questions, some of them uncomfortable. They always dig. And so if you feel like you need to wait, with the questions I'm asking you, you're going to make that choice to wait. Sometimes I ask questions in a roundabout way to help you get to Z, but I'm never like, okay, you're an A, well, this is what you need to do, and there's Z over there. Like, no, we're gonna work this thing out, because at the end of the day, Tiaera's not going home with you.
Yeah.
So I don't want you in like texting me now. What was that you said earlier? Because I'm about to tell him, like, no, what was that you said earlier? So that you can tell him. Yeah, because they're not about to be mad at me. Because I've had spouses mad at me thinking, yeah, because they said that you said, no, I didn't say that. I asked the question. They said that.
They're like, I got Tiaera to piggyback on and say that.
Right. Because my life coach said that when you do this, it made me feel like that. No, and another thing that I do, I think that's really important, is I make them use I statements. So you can't sit in there and say, you did this, and when you did this, I was like that. No, like, I felt like this as a response to what was said. Because when you say I statements, then it's not blaming the other person. You're accepting for your own feelings and your own emotions, and it's causing you to be accountable for how you responded to what they said. And that lets us get to, root causes.
Absolutely. Okay, I got this segment of my podcast where I ask questions.
Okay.
My first one, since you are a therapist, is I am an amazing therapist and life coach because
I care. I love people. I have a heart for God's people, and I don't force my religion or relationship or spirituality on anyone, because I can love you because of God and not make you feel like I'm trying to put God on you. So because I love people, man.
Got you. Okay. Now, I know you are married, and you've been married for a long time based on... So I'm going to try to tailor these questions to your relationship.
Okay.
Or how you probably could answer it for someone else. How does one know if they're ready for a relationship? Not just dating or dealing with someone, but an actual relationship.
Have they done the work? And what I mean, done the work, where they ask themselves the hard questions, the whys. Why am I like this, essentially? And then define what this is. Like, why do I get easily irritated? Why do I pull back when it feels like someone is getting too deep? Why do I get uncomfortable if someone wants to hold me accountable or give me constructive criticism? Like, asking themselves the hard questions.
Got you. How does one get respect in a relationship?
The easy answer would be to give it, but I would say, are you doing things that deem respect? Like, okay. Are you respecting yourself? Because we teach other people how to treat us.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Okay. If you could be remembered for one thing from a past relationship or your marriage, what would it be?
My communication. Like, I'm big on communication. Mm-hmm. I will over communicate sometimes. And my husband is not he's like very like analytical, and so because I'm very like mental health driven, like feelings. I'm very feelings and emotional, and he's like 1 + 1 will always be 2. And I'm like, but what about the times where 0 + 2, or the times where you have 3 - 1? Like, like that's me. But because I am big on communication. I am communicative. That is what I would be remembered for.
Got you. And my last question, because of the topic and all of that stuff, what is your idea of love for yourself? And then I could also just be like in general.
Love for myself. That's a really good question. Knowing that it's okay to choose you. Like that was something that I'm still in the process of learning, even at 38 years old, like, because I am used to making sure that everyone else is good first. Yeah. Like, I'm only child, but always desire to have a lot of friends and a lot of people around. And so that can come off as people pleasing at times. So, for me is just, checking in with myself and making sure that I'm good, and like literally asking myself that question, Tiaera, how you doing? Are you good? Yeah. Does that make you happy? Does that offend you? Does that make you sad? Why? So, yeah.
And from your spouse, what in your realm of the idea of love, your spouse, is that him respecting that you are working on those things, putting yourself first, and that you need to check in with yourself and all that stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like him understanding that a yes to me does not mean a no to him. Yeah. It's just that it's necessary. We got ass of kids, like, mommy has to make sure she's good too, and the kids are understanding that too. Like, now they're starting to, not the 2-year-old girl, I told you he don't care, but the other ones, the almost 14 and the 12-year-old and the 6-year-old, like, mommy's in her room with some they see me taking the lighter lighting my candles. My 6-year-old like, oh, you about to close us out? Yeah, mommy needs that time right now. Like, I'm running my bath water and stuff, and she understands. She'll be like, okay, we'll talk to you when you get out. 2-year-old, he don't care about none of that. He about to open the door. Can me and my truck get in the tub? No. So, yeah, like, him understanding that I have to choose me now, so that I can be the best version of myself for everybody.
Another question just popped up in my head, and I love the fact that you are teaching your kids about boundaries, because I feel like that's going to fester out in their lives, and it's going to help them with dealing with people and being comfortable with setting their own boundaries, so they're not being taken advantage of. But when somebody else tells them no, they can be okay with that. They can cope with it. There's this thing going around now about men not being able to take a no from women, and cursing them out, or on worst case scenarios, putting hands on them, stuff like that. What do you feel is missing, like, maybe from a person's childhood, on why they probably reacted like that?
Well, it could be a number of things. It could have been that they that abuse was modeled in their household, absence was modeled in their household, and so a no feels rejectionary. And so when I've been rejected, now I have to lash out because it makes me feel small, and it speaks to the little boy in all of them. And that's, no shade, but like, we each operate with a smaller version of ourselves in ourselves, and so that little boy feels like they were rejected, they weren't chosen, and so that little boy will lash out. What do kids do when they don't get their way? They have temper tantrums. They do. They lash out. And so at that point, the little boy is overpowering the man. And then, like, I'm going to lash out. I'm going to call you out your name. I'm going to hit you. I'm going to have a temper tantrum, basically an adult tantrum, because, I never dealt with why the little boy felt rejected.
Got you. A tip for maybe a man who's listening to this, and they're hearing this, and they realize, maybe when they get offended, they might lash out, or they might feel a way. Maybe they can figure out a way to control it, but they still have this feeling, this nervousness. What's a tip to maybe help?
Spend time with the little boy. Find out.
Talking to yourself too. Because I feel like men feel like you're not supposed to talk to yourself.
No, it's very beneficial. Spend time with the little boy. If it feels uncomfortable at first for it to be verbal, then write it down.
What does it look like for you to spend time with your inner child?
If you want to actually have it to be communicated, ask yourself, who in life left you feeling rejected or abandoned? Where did that start? Because I guarantee if you are responding to a no in that way, somebody at some point provided some sort of abuse, some sort of rejection, some sort of neglect. You just got to be real with yourself and find out the root. When did this start? Because any root that is planted in infertile ground is going to bear fruit that is not of good. Is, you know, so if you are lashing out in this way, you have fruit that is not good. Yeah. And so you got to get to the root. Where is this thing planted at? Where does this start? And so by doing that, I often use this analogy in therapy. You got to stir up the ground.
Yeah.
You stirring up the ground looks at you. It looks like you finding out what caused this behavior, what caused this attitude, this reaction, this response.
Yeah.
And that allows you to be the best version of yourself. I tell you, another thing is affirmations, because wherever you're most uncomfortable in saying the affirmation, there within lies the problem. So like if you are repeating the affirmation, I am whole, I am healthy, I am a good person, I am successful, I am loved. And that one right there, if that gets you caught up a little bit and it makes you feel a little uncomfortable, there's issues with you feeling loved. There's times where someone made you feel that you were unloved, because like I said, your body and your mind will reveal to you where you need to work, where the work is needed.
Thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What projects do you have going on?
Thank you. Yes. Thank you, DJ, for asking. Okay, so I'm wearing today my new line. It's called You Prayed, Now What? Because like
I'm going you got shout the website.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you.
You gotta stand up. They gotta see the fit.
I'm looking at. They can see the fit. Look at him. He gave me the thumbs up. They can see the fit.
So I got to even fit you real nice too. Like,
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the name of the line is You Prayed, Now What? Because we a lot of times growing up in the church, especially the black church, we want to pray about it, we want to lay it on the altar, and then we want to just wait for God to fix it. But the Bible says faith without works is dead. So like if you're not working on it, what are you doing? I got this saying in sessions I say with clients, do the damn work.
Yeah.
Like do the damn work. You saying that I want to see a change, I want better. Well, you got to do the work, and the work is uncomfortable, and the work is grueling, and the work is. But once you get out of that thing, like anytime you get ready to till, you're outside, you're digging, you're sweating, it's painful. Your hands get tired, your arms get tired. That's doing the work, because you're getting to the root. You got to sift some things in order to get to the root. And so, You Prayed, Now What? We have sweatshirts, t-shirts available. It's on the website. And also I just finished writing 4 children's books. It explains mental health issues at a kid's level, so it could be a bedtime story so parents can understand it. It's on ADHD, because a lot of times they say that boy just can't sit down, but it's more than that. Then there's oppositional defiant disorder, because kids that have explosive anger issues and just don't want to listen and are defiant, we can't just call them bad, because with the black male, they're on a school to prison pipeline, so they just suspend these kids, suspend them, kick them out. They end up on the streets or in jail. And so it allows parents to be able to understand it and then explain it to their child why they're acting this way. I also went on depression and anxiety, so kids can understand what's going on with them. Why are they feeling the way that they're feeling? My Uncensored Wellness podcast is available on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Season 1 is. Season 2 will be coming out soon. And of course, I'm a therapist and a life coach for All Things Fit, because it's just that all things fit together. Your mental health and your physical health, they all work together. You can't have one good and the other one not, because it'll tell on you.
Absolutely. Now, where can the audience find you?
Okay, so my Facebook is Tiaera P. Pritchett, and then my Instagram is Mrs. Pretty. It's a play on my last name. Pritee. My nickname is T, so that's why the Tee. But Pri for Pritchett, shortened, and because it's Miss Pretty. So there's that. And the website is www.allthingsfit.org. Okay. And so that's where you can get the apparel. You can also book a consultation for life coaching or therapy, and then you can have me be your life coach or therapist.
That is dope. Okay, I'm going to have all of those links in the show notes.
Yes.
I want to thank you so much for coming on.
Oh man, thank you for having me. This was incredible. Yes. Man, I'm so proud of you for doing this. This is awesome. This is dope.
Thank you.
This is so dope. You doing your thing, girl, for real.
I want to thank all of the listeners for tuning in, and until next time.